Hi Year 11, so I'm going to talk to you today about something that we discussed at the end of Year 10, and that's how to train your memory up. So effectively, your memory is like a muscle that needs developing and that you can work on building, and it's really interesting. So if you see here, your memory your retrieval practice works in a sort of, I guess, a wave like this. So your memory sort of starts to fall, something that you've learned, new content starts to fall, you come back and learn it and it comes back up. And it moves in a pattern like this. So the more that you go over key concepts, the more it goes into your long-term memory. And that's what we need for key information. So you're obviously learning so much content in all of your different subjects for your GCSEs. And the best way for you to be able to remember it when you're sat there in your GCSE exam is for key concepts to be in your long-term memory. So in this session, we're going to have a look at some general strategies that you can use to improve your memory and to build that memory to remember all of the many things that you need for your GCSE. So this is a really interesting book, and it's called Moonwalking with Einstein, and it was written by a man called Josh Foer, and this is him. Now, he was just a journalist in America, and he sort of researched the Memory Championships, which is this competition that happens in America every single year. And all these people who are really good at memory turn up at this competition, and they have to try and learn thousands and thousands of numbers. They have to see thousands and thousands of faces and match them to thousands and thousands of names, and they have like time limits. So basically there are all these people who have just smashed their memory strategies, and they compete effectively. So obviously you're not going to be entering, well, maybe you will, but you're not going to be entering the USA National Memory Championships. But we can take some things from this book to improve your memory, as effectively you have a mini memory championship at the end of Year 11 when you have to remember all of those dates for history, all of those formulas for maths and science, all of that essay question 5 English structure that you need to write down, and you've got so much to remember. So just having a think about what strategies we can take from this book and from Josh Foer that would help you when you get to your revision and when you get to your exams. So the first one I want to talk about is the Memory Palace, and this, you might have seen this in Sherlock Holmes, and it's sort of, it's in fiction quite a lot, the idea of having a memory palace, and I think we all imagine Sherlock Holmes and the sort of the steps going around him, and we'll watch this video to start off with.
Perfectly all right.
But maybe it's not a drug.
No, it has to be a drug.
How did it get into our systems? How? There has to be something.
Something buried deep. Get out.
What?
Get out. I need to go to my mind palace.
The what?
He's not going to be doing much talking for a while. We may as well go.
His what?
Oh, his mind palace. It's a memory technique, a sort of mental map. You plot a map with a location. It doesn't have to be a real place, and then you deposit memories there. Theoretically, you can never forget anything. All you have to do is find your way back to it.
So this imaginary location could be anything, a house or a street?
Yeah.
It's a palace. He said it was a palace.
Yeah, well, he would, wouldn't he?
You ain't nothing. Count.
Okay, so in the video you can see that he's obviously remembering all these key things. Now, it's a bit silly, and it's obviously a fiction and it's a TV series, but actually, if we have a look at Moonwalking with Einstein, we can apply the theory in that mind palace to remembering key things for you. So if we think about history GCSE, you need to remember that Elizabeth Fry came up with prison reforms and she wrote a diary about this. You also need to remember that Edward Jenner created a cure for smallpox. And we can use a memory palace to do that. Now, what place do we all know really well that's really big that we could use to help us as our own individual memory palace? Well, Lipson Cooperative Academy. And we can use our knowledge of this building that we see every single day to help us to think about some really key concepts that we have to remember. So if I think firstly about Elizabeth Fry and the prison reforms, I want you to imagine that you are walking into Lipson and you're going through the Year 11 entrance and you're sort of in the Holman linkway. And I want you to imagine, oh my goodness, I've just seen Mr. Mitchell, I've just seen Mr. Boys and I've said hello. And there is Queen Elizabeth. I mean, she's resurrected from the dead, but Queen Elizabeth is stood in front of you. And I want you to just really imagine that you're literally walking through those front doors and you see Queen Elizabeth in the Holman linkway next to Mr. Boys. Mr. Boys is waving at her, like everyone's just like, what? Queen Elizabeth? She's here at Lipson, what's going on? And I want you to really picture that scenario. I then want you to imagine something even more absurd. Queen Elizabeth is alive, but she is eating McDonald's fries. So suddenly out of her pocket, you know, she's got all of her Queen's gowns on and she takes out of this pocket a box of really greasy fries and she's eating these fries and you're just like, this is just beyond weird. It's not even a chip day, it's not even Friday, it's like a Tuesday and I can see Queen Elizabeth there in the Holman linkway eating some fries. And she then takes out of her back pocket a diary. And in this diary, she's writing about prison reforms. So this is a really absurd idea. And I just want you to imagine that you've walked into Lipson and you've seen that. You've seen Queen Elizabeth eating some fries, writing a diary about prison reform. And that concept is so abstract and that's such a strange thing that if you can remember that picture and if you can really imagine that you're seeing that, that's a really good way for you to remember this concept of Elizabeth Fry and the prison reforms, writing a diary about that. That will really help you to remember that for history. If we think of another example, and we need to think about here, Edward Jenner and smallpox. So I want you to imagine now that you've walked past Queen Elizabeth, okay, strange, you're walking towards the upper school canteen, and you think, okay, I'm going to get a drink from the canteen to start off my day. And you walk into the canteen and you see Kylie Jenner, mad. She's sat at the canteen table, she's like all made up, she looks fantastic. She's sat there probably doing Instagram on her phone. You literally see Kylie Jenner in Lipson. This is a really strange day. And then suddenly you get a closer look and you see that actually what she's doing on her phone is she's trying to cover some smallpox that she has on her face. So she has smallpox on her face, she's trying to get that Instagram filter to cover it up. And you can remember then you've got Kylie Jenner, smallpox. And those two things that you're again picturing, a really strange scenario. You walked into the canteen and you can see Kylie Jenner sat there with smallpox. That's a really good way for you to remember this sort of concept that you need for history. And if you, I think, use this strategy to write down key things that you need to remember, it might be something for geography, it might be something to do with Bristol as a case study, and just how you can link that to a room in Lipson and imagining yourself walking through the school and seeing these key things. It's going to help you to remember those examples. That's a really good strategy that you can use. The next strategy we're going to think about is tethering. And this is a concept where you tie something that you have to remember to something that is already in your long-term memory. So we spoke about that memory and how it's on a curve and how we want to try and get key concepts into our long-term memory. Well, that can be harder than just sort of saying, oh, I want that to go into my long-term memory. So this concept of tethering is that you take something new and you tie it to something that is already in your long-term memory. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I'm going to put a number up on the screen and I want you to remember it. I'll give you 10 seconds to remember it. So here's a number. You're going to have 10 seconds. Okay, and I'm going to take it away. Right, I want you to write down that number. Okay, for those of you who didn't rewind the video and pause it and cheat effectively, I'm sure you did not remember that number. It's massive, it's really long, it's really hard to remember. However, if I break it up into these key chunks, 2512, Christmas Day, 1402, Valentine's Day, 3110, Halloween, and 2023, last year, this year even, 2023, this year, I'm getting ahead of myself, then you'll be able to remember more easily that number. We can remember Christmas, Valentine's Day, Halloween, 2023. Christmas, Valentine's Day, Halloween, this year. Almost thinking of it as like, oh, it's not in order, is it? But remembering Christmas, Valentine's Day, Halloween, 2023. And those key things, think about in your head. Now have another go at writing down that number. Let's see if you were correct. Okay, much easier. Once we've tethered that to something that we know, it's easier to remember. But how can we link that to an example that we actually need for our GCSE? Well, obviously I wasn't going to do this video without trying to help you with your maths revision. So you need to know for maths these key averages: median, mode, mean and range. So those are all things you need to remember. They come up every year. You need to know which is which and how to use them. So I'm going to show you a video of a really annoying childhood song, and I want you to sort of see if you recognise it.
Hi kids, I want you to sing a nonsense song with me about a cat with her fiddle, a cow and the moon, a silly little dog and the plate with the spoon. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it one more time.
Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such fun, and the fish ran away with the spoon.
Okay, so I'm sure we've all heard that at nursery, or if you've got younger siblings, you really know that. That is in your long-term memory. Some of you will have been singing along, I'm sure, dancing along, getting really enthusiastic as soon as that great tune came on. So how can we link that to maths? Well, there is a maths version of this song, and I will play that for you now.
Hey diddle diddle, the median's the middle, you add and divide for the mean. The mode is the one that you see the most, and the range is the difference between. Yeah. Hey diddle diddle, the median's the middle, you add and divide for the mean. The mode is the one that you see the most, and the range is the difference between. Yeah.
So that song obviously is to the tune of Hey Diddle Diddle, and if you can remember, that's easier for you to link to. So the concept of median, mode, mean and range to that song is going to be more memorable for you. What you've done there is you've tied new information to a song that you already know. So that's another strategy that you can use. So trying to tie key dates, if there's something that it links to in your mind, something for history maybe, if you're thinking about a certain date and you can link it to a date that you already know, or again, if you can think about a song that goes with something, or even if you're trying to remember some key information and you can link it to an anagram, if it starts with different letters and that links to something that you already know. Trying to spot those patterns to make it as easy for you as possible. So to summarise, you don't have to be a national memory champion. You don't have to be Josh Fair. You don't have to win it. And actually, he went on to win it after a few months of sort of doing these strategies. He went from being a journalist and not knowing any memory sort of, he had no great memory. I think he was always good at those sort of snap memory games that you play, but he was no expert. And he went on to win this USA National Memory Championships just after a few months of really training and really practicing. So it shows in this book that you can do that. You can work that muscle that is your memory and try and build it up. And you can apply these strategies to your GCSE, and you can sit there in the summer using your memory palace, remembering that song that you've learned in maths. And it can just, those small things can help you just when you're feeling a bit stressed, when you're sat in that exam hall and it's just all coming together at one quite full on time. Just those strategies should sort of be in your back pocket as a way to remember some key concepts. Okay, thank you.